Hi friends! It's been a minute since one of my videos was reacted to and funneled down a particular niche. The flood of comments that came after weren't the nicest. Yet I think the better word is loud. So after toning down the thoughts I shared online for a minute, I came to a question. When did opinions get so loud? Which led me to, when did news get so opinionated? And how exactly did we become so polarized? At least on the internet. So here comes my thread of thoughts. Let's start in 1436. The moment Gutenberg figured out how to mass produce text, people started mass producing takes, pamphlets, manifestos, letters. Opinions have always existed, just not as loud and not this performative. There's a difference between an opinion and a performance, and somewhere along the way, the lines started to blur. For a while in America, news had rules, not moral rules, legal ones. In 1949, the FCC introduced something called the Fairness Doctrine. The idea was simple. If you use public airways to broadcast on one side of a controversial issue, you have to give the other side a fair chance to respond. By 1983, the FCC was still actively applying it. In a ruling that year, they described it in this way. Under the Fairness Doctrine, when a broadcast licensee presents programming on one side of a controversial issue of public importance, that licensee must afford a reasonable opportunity in its overall programming for the presentation of contrasting viewpoints. That's the rule. You use public airways, you present more than one side. It wasn't perfect, but it meant opinion had to at least share space with other opinions. In 1987, the Reagan administration's FCC repealed it. They argued that requiring balance was suppressing speech. The same administration that was actively applying it in 1983 decided 4 years later it was unconstitutional. And here's what makes it worse. A White House internal memo dated June 16, 1987, the same year as the repeal, shows Reagan's own Office of Policy Development recommended he sign the legislation protecting it. They warned him that without it, networks would have no obligation to present both sides. They warned him ideological bias would worsen. They also told him that 58% of Americans supported keeping it. He vetoed it anyways. 1 year later, Rush Limbaugh launched his national radio show. He started with 250,000 listeners on 56 stations. Within 5 years, he had 20 million listeners a week. He wasn't informative. He was furious in a way that felt like company. In the late 1980s and the early 1990s, deindustrialization was howling out working class communities. Jobs were leaving and no one on television was speaking to people that felt left behind. Limbaugh gave them a voice that sounded like theirs, was angry on their behalf. He invented language that created an in-group. If you knew the terms, you were in the club. 3 hours a day, every day, that trained an audience to consume opinion as daily habit. That habit became the template for everything that followed. I think historian Nicole Hemmer explains this well. She said, the things we now think of as particularly Trumpian features of conservatism, the insults, the conspiracies, the blend of entertainment and politics, and anger, Limbaugh had been doing it for a quarter century before Trump showed up to the party. When Limbaugh died in 2021, his net worth was estimated at $600 million. Let's put this in perspective. Harvard professor Danielle Allen noted that the federal government was spending $50 per student on STEM and just 5 cents per student on civics. $60 million is 150 years of that civics budget. He made that not by informing people, but by making them feel informed. Before Trump ran for president in 2015, Forbes estimated his net worth to be around $4.5 billion. Limbaugh made $600 million telling working Americans the system is rigged. Then his audience elects somebody worth nearly 8 times that to fix it. And then they doubled his net worth. Outrage pays better than truth. What feels like the truth is more profitable But before cable news, I want to back up because this part gets skipped. America actually tried to build something different. In 1961, FCC Chairman Newton Minow gave a speech to the National Association of Broadcasters and said,
"When television is good, nothing, not the theater, not the magazines or newspapers, nothing is better. But when television is bad, nothing is worse."
He called it a vast wasteland to the industry's face. What he said he actually wanted people to remember wasn't that phrase. It was two different words entirely.
I've reread that speech many times, and to my way of thinking, that speech was badly misinterpreted. You have got to remember, you, the broadcasters, have got to remember that you are a trustee, that you have got to pay more attention to your obligations to children. You've got to pay more attention not only to the bottom line, but to public service.
And those two words were not vast wasteland. The two words were public interest. Congress listened. In 1967, President Johnson signed the Public Broadcasting Act, the law that created PBS and NPR. On signing it, he said,
"So today we rededicate a part of the airwaves which belong to all the people, and we dedicate them for the enlightenment of all the people."
News as a public good, not a product. Not something that needs to be turned into profit. I love PBS. I grew up on PBS. And it matters that someone had to fight to build it because the market was never going to do it on its own. And it didn't. Congress defunded the Corporation for Public Broadcasting. So let's step back. Let me explain how we got there. The Telecommunications Act of 1996, signed by President Clinton. Its stated goal was to increase competition. What it actually did was remove almost every limit on how many stations one company could own. Before 1996, one company could own a maximum of 40 radio stations nationally. After, that cap was gone. In 1983, approximately 50 companies controlled the majority of American media. By 2004, that number had fallen, controlling most of what Americans watched, read, and listened to. Clear Channel went from dozens of stations to over 1,200. News staffs at radio stations shrank by 44%. Part-time staff by 71%. Local programming disappeared. Then came cable news. Before cable, news divisions were not expected to be profitable. They were a public service. Suddenly, news had to compete for 24 hours of attention every single day. And attention is not held by facts. Facts are settled. Facts are boring once you know them. Attention is held by conflict, by threat, by outrage. Fox News launched in 1996, the same year the Telecommunications Act passed. I don't think it was a coincidence. Fox Corporation reported annual revenue of nearly $14 billion in the fiscal year 2024, according to their SEC filings. It wasn't just Fox. MSNBC figured out the same thing from the other direction. Find your audience, confirm their fears, keep them watching. Outrage is not a side effect of news business. Outrage became the business. All of this, the consolidation, the outrage machine, the algorithm, works so well partly because we stopped teaching people how to see it coming. According to the 2022 National Assessment of Educational Progress, only 22% of 8th graders scored proficient in civics. A 2024 study by the U.S. Chamber of Commerce Foundation found that more than 70% of Americans failed a basic civic literacy quiz. 1 in 3 don't even know there are 3 branches of government. Okay, I'm gonna quote Sean Healy. He said, "The sidelining of social studies coincides with stagnant student proficiency, a stunningly low range of 20 to 25% across multiple iterations of the National Assessment of Educational Progress in Civics. Only 7 states require a full year of civics in high school. 13 states have no requirement at all. When you don't understand how government works, how media works, how money flows through politics, you're much easier to hand a pre-packaged opinion to. And it's not just education, it's where we stop existing together. There is a concept called third places, spaces that are neither home or work. Diners, libraries, community centers, barbershops, church halls, places where you'll end up next to someone who didn't vote like you, didn't grow up like you, and you'll just talk. Robert Putnam first identified the collapse of these spaces in a 1995 journal article and tracked it for decades after. He argued that social capital, the value we get from genuine community connection, had been falling since the 1960s. Without it, people became isolated, anxious, and much more susceptible to tribal thinking. And even before the pandemic, e-commerce and social media were accelerating that collapse, removing the need to go public and encounter people unlike yourself at all. Online spaces fill the void, but online spaces don't mix you, they sort you. The algorithm puts you with people who already agree with you, already share your fears, already perform the same opinions. The more time you spend there, the smaller your world gets. So the full picture looks like this, or this is the full picture that I can get to. If anybody has anything else to add, just, So media got corporatized, anger became profitable, education taught literacy, but not the system the words were describing. Communities stopped physically sharing space with people unlike themselves. Online platforms sorted everyone into chambers and optimized for outrage. Everything made the next thing worse. None of it was an accident. All of it followed money. Then the internet removed the last speed limit. A 2018 study published by MIT researchers found that false news spreads to 150 people 6 times faster than true news. And people, not bots, are the ones spreading it. Meanwhile, Facebook's own internal research showed that their algorithm was treating angry emoji reactions as 5 times more valuable than a like, actively amplifying the most outrage generating content in your feed. They knew. They kept doing it because engagement is money. In 2021, former Facebook product manager testified before the Senate under oath.
My name is Frances Haugen. I used to work at Facebook. I joined Facebook because I think Facebook has the potential to bring out the best in us. But I'm here today because I believe Facebook's products harm children, stoke division, and weaken our democracy. The company's leadership knows how to make Facebook and Instagram safer, but won't make the necessary changes because they have put their astronomical profits before people.
In her 60 Minutes interview, she said,
"The thing I saw at Facebook over and over again was there were conflicts of interest between what was good for the public and what was good for Facebook. And Facebook over and over again chose to optimize for its own interests, like making more money. The consequences of how Facebook is picking out that content today is that it is optimizing for content that gets engagement, a reaction. But its own research is showing that content that is hateful, that is divisive, that is polarizing, it's easier to inspire people to anger than it is to other emotions."
A 2020 peer-reviewed study published in the Proceedings of the ACM Conference on Fairness, Accountability, and Transparency found it consistently pushed users towards more radical content because radical content generates more watch time. More watch time means more ads. According to Alphabet's own 2023 earnings report, Google's advertising revenue totaled $237.86 billion. According to Meta's own 2023 earnings report, Meta's advertising revenue hit $131.95 billion. Combined, nearly $370 billion in a single year, generated by keeping your attention. And your anger makes your attention easier to hold. Your attention is the product. The system optimizes for anger, not meticulously, just logically. Then opinion became a career, the manosphere, the economy of men performing opinions about women online. It's not just ideology, it's a monetization strategy. According to 2022 Guardian investigation, Andrew Tate's Hustler University affiliate program paid recruiters commission on every new member they brought in. The more inflammatory the clip, the more it spread, the more money moved. When The Guardian published its investigation, Tate shut down the program, which tells you everything about how central it is to the operation. This is not one angry man with a microphone. This is a pyramid scheme built on male rage. Keep men feeling threatened by women's independence. Keep them consuming content that confirms women are the problem. Keep them clicking. Keep them paying. So when I read comments now or scroll past a very loud news article, I'm reminded that sometimes these words came from a machine that spent decades learning that anger travels. A machine built by people who needed your attention and figured out the cheapest way to get it is to tell you to be afraid, to resent, and to perform. So the comments that flooded my comment section recently, I deleted most of them. I realized like those comments weren't really about me. I was just standing in the way of something much bigger and much older than either of us, just like the system we're all living in. And it's honestly kind of freeing, because here is what I know. As loud as the machine gets, it has never been the whole story. There's still people out there patching up holes quietly, without an audience, without monetization strategy, just people showing up for other people. Asking questions, staying curious, choosing connection over performance. I don't have a solution. I don't think one person ever does. But I do think that seeking, the act of asking why, of refusing to accept the pre-packaged version of the world is enough. It has always been enough to start something. The world is rotten in places, but it's also worth staying for. Okay, so like, that's kind of like my thoughts. I hope you guys found this kind of interesting, because that's literally what I've been thinking about recently. And I think like when I started this channel kind of too, like I think I write about like how I feel the internet is so polarized a lot actually. So like finally I think I got into some answer. So I wanted to share this answer. It's not a concrete answer, but I think it gives a good picture of how we got here. I don't know for you guys, maybe I'm just not educated. I feel like these things weren't talked about in like my high school history class, you know? And now reading more American history and just like understanding how the system works, like there's a reason why we got here, you know? And I think like a lot of the times it's the policies that go unnoticed that makes such a change, and it's not just like one thing happened and the whole thing like, you know, slowly like one policy got passed, and then like slowly corporations started buying everything. And I think hope is power, and I want to hold on to that. But I don't know, going down this little, like, I wouldn't say it's like actual research. I did put the works cited in the description, and I broke it down by like topic that I talk about. You guys feel free to double check everything that I talked about in this video, because this is just like one topic that I was really like invested in, but like this is all during my free time. So like it's not a very like well-researched topic, I would say. I tried, like I read a lot of articles, and that is that. Hope everything is well. Stay sane. 加油，真的。好啦，that is all. Okay. 好的，拜拜。